So it's on to the eliminator round here for 8 drivers as they'll try and battle for 4 final slots in the season finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. Hello everybody, welcome back to the finishing up of this broadcast here today on Nnscra Radio 1620 WCBM. I'm Seth Cole, and we're going to look now at the next 3 venues that these drivers are going to be heading to try and make their way through the eliminator round and into the final 4 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Now, first place that we're going to be going to is Martinsville, and I'm going to be quickly touching on one thing here. Of course, it's worth mentioning, Joey Logano swept the entire, I believe it's the contender round. Looking just for confirmation on that, it is indeed the contender round. He ended up winning at Charlotte, he ended up winning at Kansas, and then he ended up winning at Talladega Superspeedway. Now, a lot of people are getting a little bit fed up with seeing the 22 in victory lane quite a bit. Quite honestly, though, they have earned every win they've gotten up to this point. The thing that I think, though, that people are not seeing is there is actually some benefit to Joey Logano having swept the entire contender round. He clearly comes into the eliminator round as the #1 favorite, as the #1 guy that is going to be trying to win yet again and move his way into the final 4. A lot of people actually, when the chase began, looked at Joey Logano as one of the contenders for the championship. They were saying it looked like it was going to maybe come down between him, Kenseth, and Harvick. So Joey Logano has definitely put his name out there, made a case for himself that he wants to be in that final 4 when they get to Homestead. Now, the reason that I think that there may be some benefit to Joey Logano having swept the contender round is here in the eliminator round now, the drivers that are left in the hunt for the championship, now there's a big bullseye, a big target on Joey Logano, and they're realizing, hey, we got to do whatever we can. We got to strategize. We got to figure out some kind of a plan to keep these guys out of victory lane. Because if they end up winning a race here in the eliminator round, our chances are going to be really slim when we get to Homestead Miami Speedway with the hot streak that they've been on. So I think that this domination, if you will, by Joey Logano is going to have these other drivers step up their game, and these other drivers include Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch. Who, by the way, I ended up looking, based off of last segment, I didn't know how many spots Newman had to pick up in order to pass Kyle Busch and eliminate Kyle Busch out of the championship hunt. It was actually 3 positions. It was 3 points. But those are the 8 drivers. So it was interesting during the post-race interviews. They interviewed Jeff Gordon, they interviewed Kurt Busch, and the other one was Kyle Busch. All 3 of them said, we're really looking forward to Martinsville. And Steve Letarte brought up the fact that he was shocked with the fact that Joey Logano has been dominating, and these guys are like, yeah, we're looking forward to Martinsville. This says to me that these drivers are realizing they got to step up their game. This is the incentive for them. They've got to step their game up. They've got to get themselves on Joey Logano's level. They've got to find victory lane. They've got to work their way into that finale with a win here in this eliminator round. And at the same time, they've got to stop that 22 team from finding victory lane. Because there is no doubt about it, if Joey Logano wins a race here in the eliminator round, he moves into the final 4 at Homestead Miami Speedway, he is going to be a cut and dry favorite. So Martinsville is, I think, definitely going to be a very telling race. If we see one of those 8 drivers roll the dice for track position and stay out, that says to me right there, they're not just staying out to try and win the race to move into the next round. They're also trying to keep that 22 team at bay. More often than not, a dominating driver causes other drivers to step their game up, and that's what I think is going to take place here in this eliminator round with the domination we saw in the contender round by Joey Logano. So we got Martinsville, and a lot of drivers who are really good at Martinsville are going to be trying to use Martinsville, if you will, as a springboard to make it into the next round and to also keep the 22 car from going 4 in a row here during the chase. from what I look at here, there are 3 drivers that really stand out to me that could be those drivers that could be the ones to stop Joey Logano from finding victory lane early here in the eliminator round. Jeff Gordon is actually one of them. In all honesty, Jeff Gordon, he's been good this season. He's been consistent, but he has not been race-winning caliber. You look at the summer race at Daytona. He ended up qualifying on the pole position 0.3 faster than everybody else. Where did he finish? 31st. You look at him here in yesterday's race at Talladega Superspeedway. Qualified on the pole 0.2 faster than everybody else. And he managed to finish in the 3rd position. I think for Gordon, the goal there was to finish in 3rd or 2nd place and push his teammate Junior to the win to move him on to the next round. But when you look at it, Jeff Gordon has really not been up there. And too many times I've watched races this season, races that I've actually not even planned to watch, at tracks that you know where it's almost going to be a bore fest until you get down to the final 20 or so laps. But I've watched them. And so many times you hear Jeff Gordon complaining about the race car, that the race car is not to his liking. They've not found that chemistry between driver and machine for Gordon to get up there and be race-winning caliber. The only way that he's made it up to this point is through the consistency so far. The top 5s and top 10s, but he has not had the car to get to victory lane. Martinsville is a place where he can do this. I look at the places on the schedule. You got Phoenix, you got Texas. He's won at both those tracks. But the one place that stands out to me with big red letters is Martinsville Speedway. That is the place that Gordon has to take advantage of. The next driver that I would look at is Carl Edwards. And this may be a little bit of an interesting one, but Carl Edwards is actually very good at Martinsville. He's got good numbers going all the way back to when he was with Roush Racing. We also know that Carl Edwards is very good at short tracks with the wins that we've seen him get at Bristol. Now, Carl Edwards, up until this point, if you look at the point standings after Talladega Superspeedway, Joey Logano, 3 wins, top of the leaderboard. Who was second? It was Carl Edwards, albeit 27 points back, but it was Carl Edwards. So Carl Edwards, even though he hasn't found victory lane, he's definitely had the consistency, had the good momentum in the last 3 races. So heading into Martinsville, I think this is going to be very big for him. And the fact, too, that now he's the lone guy. He's the lone Joe Gibbs racing driver. Or I'm sorry, no, he's not. Kyle Busch is also in. So let's put it this way. He's one of 2 of 4 Joe Gibbs racing drivers that were in the chase for the championship, and now half of them are gone. Hamlin and Kenseth eliminated at Talladega. The final driver that I would look at is Kurt Busch. Because Kurt Busch, in all honesty, has kind of gone into the Jeff Gordon stats that I was talking about, where he's been consistent, but it hasn't really looked like that 41 team is race-winning caliber. His teammate, Kevin Harvick, in the first round of the chase for the championship, back in the Challenger round, I mean, he was the one that really seemed to step up. Kurt Busch, not as much. Matter of fact, back in the contender or in the Challenger round, it was Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Matt Kenseth. Those were the drivers that were basically the ones to talk about. And then it was basically for the contender round, Joey Logano, a little bit of Matt Kenseth, a little bit of Brad Keselowski, a little bit of Jeff Gordon, with them getting the pole positions at those racetracks. But it was pretty much Joey Logano. So, to me, Kurt Busch needs to step out here and needs to really do something. And I think Martinsville is really the place for him to do it. Phoenix is a kind of a place that he could maybe do it too, but I think Martinsville is the prime place for that team. So let's look ahead to the second race of the Eliminator round. Texas Motor Speedway. You look at this race, and this just shouts out Joey Logano. Joey Logano ended up winning at Charlotte about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Joey Logano won at Kansas. Joey Logano, let's see where his other wins ended up coming at. They came at Bristol, Watkins Glen, and I'm looking up through the thing here. Oh, of course, the Daytona 500. So he's won at just about every single type of track. He won a road course, won a short track, won a restricted plate track. He's won a mile and a half. However, I believe Texas Motor Speedway, that is the place that I think they're maybe going to be circling to try and be the ones to go to victory lane. Who else could contend with him? One of which I think could possibly be Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick is also very good at the mile and a half racetracks. I think Texas would be a place he'd be good at. And then, last but not least, I would probably look at Martin Truex Jr. as a possible contender in that respect at that particular track. Then we go to Phoenix, and that's where Truex also seems to stand out to me, but then you got Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch, who I think would be the prime contenders for that race. Some others that you might want to throw into there: Kurt Busch, a possibility. Carl Edwards, maybe. And then possibly Jeff Gordon. However, I don't think we're going to see a reinvention of the Stanley Steamer anytime soon. So as you look at this, to me, the two places that the drivers have to pounce at are Martinsville and Phoenix to keep Logano out. And then they really need to step it up at Texas, which I think is going to be the 22 team's bread and butter track. If there can be one driver that can step up and at least contend with the 22 at Texas Motor Speedway, okay then. I think another thing that's very important to keep Logano out of the hunt for the championship at Homestead Miami is, out of these 8 drivers that are still in, or these 7 remaining, Edwards, Gordon, the 2 Busch brothers, Keselowski, Truex, and Harvick, we need to have 3 different chase winners in the next 3 races. It cannot be a repeat winner at Phoenix and Martinsville, or at Phoenix and Texas, or at Martinsville and Texas. It cannot be a repeat winner. Because if there is a repeat winner, that leaves the door open for 2 drivers to make their way in via points. If there are 3 different winners, that means there's only 1 slot, the driver that is 4th in points, that's going to make it in via points. We already know that Edwards has been consistent. We already know that Gordon's consistent. There's a possibility that one of those 2 could maybe get that final 4th slot if they don't go to victory lane in the next 3 races and knock Logano out. So that's how it's got to work for Logano to pretty much be quelled, to be iced. They got to stop him from getting to victory lane, especially at Texas Motor Speedway. There's got to be 3 different race winners in the next 3 races, all being current chase drivers. You can't have Hamlin. You can't have Kenseth. You can't have Jimmy Johnson go into victory lane, or else that throws it all out the window, and you're back to 2 drivers that'll make it in via points. Or possibly 3 drivers that make it in via points, depending on whether a non-chaser or a chaser goes to victory lane at Martinsville, Texas, Phoenix. It's all going to depend on that. Last but not least, you need Joey Logano's team to make a mistake, cause him to have problems, kind of put himself in a scenario like Matt Kenseth, like Jimmy Johnson, like Kevin Harvick have been in nearing the end of each of these current 2 rounds. Jimmy Johnson had his problems. Kevin Harvick had his problems as well back at the end of the Challenger round. Harvick ended up winning. Johnson was eliminated. Matt Kenseth having his problems here at the end of the Contender round here at Talladega, eliminated. They need something like that to happen to Joey Logano, but right now, it looks like that 22 team is absolutely flawless. So with that being said, they need to have 3 drivers of these last remaining 7, not including Logano, of these last remaining 7, go to victory lane in these next 3 races, and they need somebody who's not able to win the races that's going to be able to be consistent enough to contend with Joey Logano to be able to keep with him in the point standings and take that 4th and final slot away from him. In all honesty, do I see any of this happening? No, I don't. I see Joey Logano somehow finding victory lane. I see Joey Logano moving into the final 4. Looking at this realistically, who would these final 4 probably be? Joey Logano, I think, is a prime suspect of one of them. I also see, with a consistency factor right now, but based off the fact that there are some tracks that we're going to that maybe might not be so good, Phoenix is the one that stands out to me. Carl Edwards, I think, could, though, make it into the next round. All the controversy that's going on and everything, Kevin Harvick, I believe, is going to make it into the next round, and he's going to be defending his title. So that leaves that final 4th spot open. Who gets it? Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr.? If I'm looking at this realistically, to me, the one that stands out, based on the tracks that we're going to, I'm seeing either Brad Keselowski or Kyle Busch filling that final spot. Which means to me, I don't see really a chance for Jeff Gordon moving into the Final 4. If he does move into the Final 4, I don't really see Jeff Gordon being a contender at Homestead Miami Speedway. Martin Truex Jr., he's had a great season, an unbelievable season. But he just barely worked his way into this next round. They found a little bit of hardships there at Talladega Superspeedway. They can't afford that kind of a thing. I think, to me, Martinsville is going to be a telling tale on whether Martin Truex Jr. is going to be a contender here in this eliminator round or not. But Martin Truex Jr., even though he's had a great season, I don't think they're quite going to be able to be up to par with Logano, with Harvick. So I think they're going to be eliminated, and then I also think that you're going to see Kurt Busch probably be eliminated as well from the hunt for the championship. We'll see, though. Out of these drivers that are currently in this hunt, there are only 4 of them that are former champions of the Sprint Cup Series. Gordon, a 4-time champion. Kurt Busch, of course, the champion back in 2004. Brad Keselowski, former champion, and the defending champion, Kevin Harvick. My dog is barking at a squirrel. So you've got Carl Edwards, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch trying to become first-time champions. It's going to be interesting to see how they step up their game in the next 3 races in trying to contend for the championship. Anyway, folks, I hope that this broadcast has been insightful to you. Let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree with the opinions and facts that I've brought to you here today. I want to thank Dougie Shears for giving the idea for the revival of Nnscra Radio. There may be more episodes that will be coming out in the near future, but this seemed like one that really was going to be a great topic to be able to bring around the renaissance of this program. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't seen the other 2 parts where I hit on the restarts that took place at Talladega, and then as well as the Kevin Harvick incident on the final restart, be sure to check those out. Leave the links to them down there in the description so you can see them. Let me know what your opinions are on what I've been talking about here. Do you agree, disagree? Do you have a different opinion? Always open to other people's opinion. The thing about an opinion is nobody is wrong because everybody's opinion is their own. Anyway, folks, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you guys next time here on Nnscra Radio on the 1620 WCBM Studios Network, Nelliston, New York. We'll see you guys next time. Adios.